Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever considered that there might be a hidden language, woven into the numbers and letters that kind of define our world, even our own names?
It's a fascinating idea, isn't it?
What if every single character held like a secret vibration, something influencing our lives in ways we're maybe only just starting to grasp?
Well, that's exactly the territory we're diving into today. Our main guide here is Shirley Blackwell Lawrence's book, The Secret Science of Numerology, and she actually dedicates it to all who seek more than blind faith, which I think is key.
Yeah, that sets a tone.
Right. So our mission isn't just about, believing blindly. It's more a quest to uncover the patterns, maybe even the science behind this idea of number vibration.
It really sets a powerful intention, that dedication. So we're kind of offering you, the listener, a shortcut, a way to see how ancient wisdom and maybe surprisingly science and even your own personal experiences might be connected through numbers.
Exactly. Prepare for some potentially aha moments along the way.
So let's start with the author, Shirley Blackwell Lawrence. She didn't just, decide to study this, right? Her journey was more spontaneous.
That's right. It apparently started with these very vivid dreams she was having, dreams full of numbers.
Okay.
And then kind of out of the blue, people started asking her, what does this number mean? Or what about that number?
Strange.
Yeah. And that really sparked her curiosity. So she ended up going to a numerology seminar. It was at the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles.
And was that the turning point?
It really seems like it. That seminar was where things, clicked for her. She learned the techniques to analyze her own name and birth date.
Ah, so making it personal.
Totally. And the insights she got were, she found them remarkably precise. Like her vowels showed her innermost desires.
Right.
The consonants, they pointed to her personality, how others saw her. Her full birth name laid out her talents, her sort of destiny.
Wow, and the birth date.
The birth date showed her what she was meant to do with those talents, how to put them into action in her life.
So she must have been pretty convinced after that.
She said she was utterly stunned by how true it all felt. And she apparently said quite openly how much she wished she'd known it all earlier, for making better decisions.
Yeah, I can imagine. But what's really compelling, I think, is that she didn't just stop there, right? She didn't just accept it based on her own chart.
No, not at all. She immediately applied it, analyzed her husband's chart, her children's charts, found answers to personal questions.
Right.
But then, driven by that same curiosity, she really dove into the research, comparing different texts, studying every day. She was determined to find the, quote, science behind number vibration.
Did she find anything that felt like validation?
Well, she discovered this place, the California Institute of Numerical Research, Inc. And apparently they'd spent something like 25 years doing research that, in her view, confirmed the accuracy of this number vibration science.
25 years, that's significant. It suggests there might be some kind of verifiable foundation here, beyond just anecdotes.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating here, the core idea, is that this isn't just about numbers as, quantities, how many things you have.
Right, not just counting.
No. It's about seeing them as living qualitative realities, as vibrations. Pythagoras famously said, omnia in numera cita sunt, everything lies veiled in numbers.
Oh, Pythagoras.
He taught that numbers are fundamentally rates of vibration. And then you have figures like Helen Blavatsky, important in esoteric thought, who said something similar. Number underlies form, and number guides sound. It lies at the root of the manifested universe.
It's remarkable how this ancient idea of vibration, it doesn't just stay in philosophy, does it? It seems to pop up in observations we might even call scientific, looking back.
What?
Well, the sources mention a Mrs. L. Dow-Belliat. She apparently discovered that the letter name of a musical note, like saying C or D, has the same vibration as the actual sound of that note. Yeah. And the implication was maybe this holds true for the whole English alphabet. And then there's Sir Isaac Newton, centuries ago. He connected the 7 colors of the light spectrum to musical tones.
Yeah.
Red to C, orange to D, and so on.
So patterns connecting different kinds of vibrations, sound, light.
Exactly. It really points to this amazing underlying harmony or maybe structure in the universe.
Precisely. And this concept, vibration, it really permeates everything when you start looking. Think about heat. What is it? Just kinetic energy, vibrational motion, color. Just a different rate of vibration, on a different octave. Even something like disease is seen, in this context, as having its own distinct vibration.
So people tried to measure this.
Well, the sources talk about a Dr. Abrams, an American physician. He apparently developed an instrument to measure bodily reactions, and through that, he claimed he could assign a numerical value to different diseases.
A number for a disease.
Yeah, and he believed that remedies could also be found, maybe even applied, through numerical frequencies. Taking it further, Max Heindel talked about a person's unique keynote,
Keynote.
like a core vibration. He suggested the medulla oblongata, part of our brainstem, acts almost like well, a living tuning fork.
A tuning fork in the brain.
Sort of. When the right sympathetic tone hits it, it resonates. And this could directly influence things like our heartbeat, potentially even help healing through sympathetic vibration.
That's a lot to take in. So if I'm following this, the idea is these ancient insights aren't just metaphors. They might reflect a tangible, energetic reality, affecting heat, light, even our own bodies.
That seems to be the core argument, yes.
And this connects to that old Hermetic saying, doesn't it? As above, so below.
Exactly. That core idea from ancient wisdom traditions that the laws working on the small scale, the microcosm like an atom or a person, also work in the large scale. The macrocosm, the universe, a galaxy.
So the patterns repeat.
That's the principle. And if you take that further, connecting it to the big picture, it implies that the very words you speak, the thoughts you hold, they actually have a profound vibrational effect on your reality.
How so?
Well, Eliphas Levi, the French occultist, he observed that good words spoken will take on living forms. And you even see echoes in Scripture, like Matthew 12:34. The mouth speaks from the fullness of the heart.
Okay.
The idea is that our words, our thoughts, they generate these tangible thought forms that become part of our personal energy field, and they vibrate, sort of like a tuning fork sending out a frequency.
So not just abstract ideas, but actual energy forms. You mentioned Dr. Abrams trying to measure disease vibrations. Were there other attempts to, scientifically measure thoughts or words?
Fascinatingly, yes, or at least claims of it. The sources talk about a Dr. Baraduk. He supposedly built a machine that could record thought vibrations.
Record thoughts.
Well, it reportedly showed a rapid, strong vibration when an intelligent person was nearby, but a weak, slow rate for someone perceived as having lower mentality. It suggested thoughts themselves carry measurable energy.
That's pretty wild.
And there was Sir Alexander Cannon, a professor and doctor. He was said to be able to compare different types of thoughts by analyzing graphs, getting mathematical interpretations. His work supposedly even showed how different kinds of music affected people's thought patterns vibrationally.
Which leads us right to a really critical connection: how our thoughts impact our physical health.
Absolutely. Think about it. Negative thoughts, constant worry. What do? They trigger adrenaline, stress responses in the body.
The fight or flight thing.
Exactly. And what's really crucial here is that our body, our physiology, it apparently can't tell the difference between actual, real physical danger and just thinking about a stressful situation.
So the physical reaction is the same.
Pretty much. Both create that same cascade of stress hormones. And there's this quite chilling detail mentioned in the sources. An experiment where someone's breath when they were angry was captured.
Oh.
And when analyzed, it apparently contained enough venom, enough toxins to quickly kill a small animal.
Wow. Seriously?
That's what the source claims. It gives a very literal, potent meaning to the phrase, a poisoned tongue.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it also helps explain maybe why we sometimes feel in tune with certain people. It could be down to matching vibratory rates. The sources even suggest that the quality of our aura, our energy field, and even the tone of our voice can reflect our level of spiritual development.
So these thoughts, these energy forms,
Yeah.
where do they go? Where do they exist?
Well, the sources touch on this really interesting idea, a fourth dimension, a realm sort of beyond our normal perception where these thought forms are believed to exist.
Like another layer of reality.
Kind of, a subtle layer where intentions and ideas take shape even if we don't usually see them. But here's the really important part they emphasize.
What's that?
Even if someone, like a seer, could glimpse potential future events forming in that dimension, human choice, our free will, can always change the outcome.
So we're not locked in.
Yeah.
We still have agency.
Exactly. Which is a very powerful thought, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, so if that wasn't fascinating enough, let's get into how the actual shapes of letters are said to reveal deep insights. This is where it gets really interesting, based on the source material.
It absolutely is. Let's take the letter A, for example. In Hebrew, it's aleph. It's often called oxhead, and its meaning is linked to physical generation.
Oxhead generation. How do those connect?
Well, the author, Shirley Blackwell Lawrence, She puzzled over this for months. Then one day she saw this picture on a t-shirt. At first glance, it looked like a uterus.
Okay.
But looking closer, she realized it was actually an ox head, drawn so the horns clearly represented the fallopian tubes. Yeah, and her reaction was, how ingenious, and how beautifully concealed the secret was in its obviousness. It made her think the ancients, through these symbols, might have had a much deeper understanding of anatomy than we usually assume.
That's an incredible visual connection. Are there other examples like that for letters we use all the time? What about, say, M?
Yes, M, that's mem in Hebrew, the 13th letter. It's deeply connected to water and also mother.
Water and mother. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. It reflects how prenatal life begins in water inside the womb. And interestingly, look at the shape of M, especially uppercase, that V shape in the middle.
Yeah.
It's said to imply an openness to higher ideas, but also strong management abilities. So someone with a prominent M in their name might have this nurturing side, a connection to foundational things, but also a capacity for big thinking and getting things organized.
That's quite detailed. What about the letter R? I feel like I've heard some funny things about R.
R. Yes, it's sometimes comically called the dog letter or the snarling letter just because of the sound it makes, right? In a negative sense, it can apparently reflect people who tend to, well, grumble or complain. Maybe they struggle with patience or need to work on controlling their sort of basic impulses and temper.
So it has a challenging side.
It can. The author even gives this visual metaphor for taming its energy. Imagine removing that active right leg on the R, making it stand still like the letter P.
Huh. Like calming it down.
Exactly. It's kind of a reminder that self-mastery, especially over those immediate reactions, can be a real journey for people with a strong R vibration in their name.
So beyond the individual letters, the sources also talk about master numbers, like 11, 22, 33. These aren't just regular numbers, are they? They're different somehow.
Right. They're seen as having uniquely higher vibrational qualities. But, and this is important, they also imply a greater responsibility.
Higher vibration, more responsibility. How so?
Well, take 11. It's often seen as bringing light spiritual insight. But it can also be incredibly intense, carrying a lot of nervous tension. 22 is called the master architect or master builder. It has the potential to manifest really grand visions on a practical material level, but it demands huge effort, practicality, and vision.
And 33.
33 represents selfless giving, sometimes called the master teacher or healer. It requires a profound commitment to service, often involving personal sacrifice. So these numbers aren't just better, they represent a kind of higher calling, demanding more commitment.
So understanding if you have one in your chart could really shape how you see your life's path and maybe the challenges you face.
Definitely. It adds another layer to the whole picture.
Okay, so people listening might be thinking, this is interesting, but how do I actually use this? How can you apply this secret science for your own understanding?
Well, the process, as the book outlines it, starts pretty simply. You need to write out your complete birth name.
Complete, like everything.
Exactly as it appears on your birth certificate. Middle names, everything. This, according to the source, represents the vibration you came in on. It's like your inherent character, your base frequency, your talents.
Okay, got it. Full birth name. Then what?
Then you focus on calculating 4 major numbers from your name and birth date.
4 key numbers. What are they?
First, you look at the vowels in your name. Their total value reveals your soul's urge or core desire. This is like your animating spirit, what you really want deep down, maybe even unconsciously.
The vowels.
Okay.
Yeah, what's second?
Second, the consonants. Their total represents your personality, sometimes called the quiescent self. This is how you might see yourself in dreams, and it's generally how others perceive you through your actions and outward behavior.
Right, the outer you.
Sort of. Third, you add up the value of all the letters in your whole birth name. This total uncovers your inherent talents and your broader destiny, what you're sort of equipped to do and achieve.
Talents and destiny.
Makes sense.
And the fourth?
The fourth comes from your birth date. You add up the month, day, and year. This total gives you your birth path or life lesson. It indicates the specific work or actions you're supposed to take to actually use those talents you have.
So the name shows the potential. The birth date shows the path.
That's a good way to put it. The sources also add something interesting. Any numbers that are missing from your name.
Missing. Like if there are no letters corresponding to a certain number value.
Exactly. Those missing numbers are said to indicate karmic lessons. These aren't necessarily bad things or deficits. They're seen as areas your soul chose to focus on for growth in this lifetime. experiences you're meant to develop and master.
That's a really profound way to think about our identity, like a map laid out. It reminds me, didn't the sources mention Walt Disney? Something about his signature.
Yes, that's a compelling example they give. Apparently, later in his career, he started signing his name as just Walt Disney, maybe dropping a middle name or initial he used before.
Okay.
And the suggestion is that this shift in the signature vibration reflected new goals, maybe a shift in his soul's urge. It's noted that after around 1950, he started producing more adventure stories, documentaries.
Which aligned with the vibration of Walt Disney.
That's the connection the source makes. It suggests the new signature vibration matched the new goals he was setting for himself. A different focus.
It's a striking idea how even a small change like a signature could reflect or maybe even nudge your life direction.
It is, and this wisdom, this vibrational understanding, it also extends into things like inner guidance and meditation.
How so?
Each number ray, from 1 to 9, is described as representing a specific state of consciousness, so they can be used as focal points for meditation.
Like meditating on a number.
Sort of. Focusing on the quality of the 1 ray, for instance, helps you concentrate on willpower, the origin of ideas. Focusing on the 2 ray connects you to wisdom, pure intellect, intuition.
Interesting. A tool for inner work.
Exactly. And the sources also introduce this concept of auric circles, 3 subtle interlocking energy fields believed to surround every person.
Auric fields, like the aura.
Similar concept, yes, formed by a kind of electric force within us. And it's said that those with clear seeing, clairvoyance perhaps, can actually interpret these emanations.
Understand what?
To understand a person's soul qualities, their inner state, even potentially aspects of their physical health, it offers a way to perceive things beyond just the physical surface.
So for someone with that ability, these fields are like an open book to a person's inner world.
Well, it brings this whole study to a really personal, almost spiritual level.
It really does. And ultimately, through all her study, Shirley Blackwell Lawrence said she came to this profound realization. She shared it. God dwells in man. Within the soul of each and every one of us, there is that abiding light which is a ray from the divine being.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And finding that connection, that core truth, she said it brought her insight, answers, but also tolerance and appreciation for other people understanding what they are, what they believe, and maybe even why they're here.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think this deep dive has really shown that maybe numbers and letters are way more than just, random symbols we use.
Right. They seem to be imbued with this vibrational meaning, offering a profound, almost, dare I say, scientific way to understand ourselves and maybe the universe around us. It's about seeing the patterns, not just counting the dots.
Definitely. And this leaves us with a really important question for you to maybe sit with. If every single word you speak, every thought you hold, every letter in your name carries its own unique vibration, what hidden messages might be waiting for you to uncover in your own life? And maybe, just maybe, how could understanding these vibrations help you align more closely with your deepest desires, your purpose?
And perhaps, like the author found, foster a greater sense of, well, tolerance and appreciation for everyone else, too.
Exactly. Food for thought.